G'day, Seafood Dave here. Today I'm going to talk a little bit about the idea of movement, specifically what it entails when it comes to our style, and why it's so important to us. I think we all have a general sense of the idea of movement being fundamental to martial arts, whether you're a wrestler, whether you're a boxer, MMA, any of these types of martial arts. Obviously movement is a fairly large component of what you do. Where we may take it to a different place is in terms of our philosophy is such that our number one aim is to keep moving, and that's not just this idea that that as long as our body is moving we're okay. It's what we call a driver, and a driver is important for us in terms of, if for nothing else, if I'm trying to deal with a situation, the idea of continuing to move is at least a very good base starting point, and we can then gain a lot of things from that. The advantages for us is continual movement means that you're not giving your opponent a target, for starters. Ideally, if you're moving well enough, you're out-timing them in terms of getting to the point of contact before they're ready for it. And also fundamentally, movement allows us to get ourselves to an exit and to remove ourselves from the threat, which is really what we're about. There are some other benefits to movement, such as the momentum that we can create by moving, such that simply our body weight moving through someone can act as a weapon in itself. Also the idea of not getting grabbed. So I would imagine there's a few of you out there thinking, okay, so you can move, but what if someone tackles you? What if someone grabs you? Those sorts of things. Well, movement, the way that we approach it, is designed to take care of those ideas. And I'll go into non-grab theory a little later on in another video. But what we refer to as a driver, which is something that we use to facilitate our best performance. If I identify the idea of I need to keep moving as my driver, that can be a very powerful idea that transcends a lot of the technical stuff that can get in the way. Aspects of movement that are very important for us, probably the number one aspect of movement is acceleration. And acceleration obviously is a change in velocity, and primarily that's the idea, as I spoke of before, about getting to the point before your opponent does. And people in martial arts will know what I mean when I talk about that point, that moment of engagement. Now, if you get to that moment before your opponent does, ideally you then can progress your situation to your advantage. I know I'm dealing in sort of abstract terms here, but I don't like to get into the technical. I'll do some of the technical stuff in later videos. Movement also for us is absolutely fundamental when dealing with more than one opponent, and this again is where a number of other styles who will approach the idea of more than one opponent can sometimes get a bit stuck, because they will try to deal with one opponent and try to win that encounter, and then try to deal with another opponent, try to win that encounter. We're not so much concerned about winning those encounters as opposed to just moving from one opponent to the other, and the weapons will tend to take care of themselves. I remember seeing a post from Sensei Seth, who was doing some group encounters, and he found one of the most effective ideas was just to move through and hit as you go. And that was a really good indicator that movement can be a really powerful idea and it's also something that your opponents may not be expecting. So for us, movement is our number one idea, and a lot of things can be derived from that idea. I will be talking about other aspects of movement, as I've already explained, about acceleration and other different forms of movement, and what it can give us in future videos, and I'll also be doing a few demonstrations. But I hope this will give you a little bit of an insight about where we're coming from, and I'll explain a little bit further in other videos to come. Alright, thanks.